Wargamers. Today I want to talk about support systems on crisis battlesuits and crisis commanders. It's a question that comes up pretty frequently about whether or not either of those units should be taking support systems or if they should just be going all out on their weapon choices. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you like this video, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Very important to hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my upcoming uploads. All right, so let's get down to the basics. Crisis suits, they have 3 slots. Crisis commanders have 4 slots, and you have the option of filling those slots with either weapons or support systems. Now, there's kind of a trade-off here, right, where you could do the math hammer. You could point out, there are certain situations where taking a support system is going to make a difference and some where there isn't. But essentially, the question I always ask is, if I take a support system or give up a weapon on a crisis suit, is it going to give me a 50% increase in my fire output? The reason for that is because if you have 3 slots and you're starting out with 2 filled with weapons, you can either add another weapon and increase your fire output by 50%, or you can take a support system and hope that it does that exact same thing, or preferably better, right? Now, for a commander, the math is similar. You're going to ask if it's a 33% increase or better, because you have 4 slots, so you're starting with 3 loaded with weapons. Then you can add your 4th weapon or take a support system. Either of those options, you're hoping for at least a 33% increase in fire output. And the answer in both cases is no. There are some cases where you could make that happen, but those are largely going to be obscure and not with loadouts you really want to take with either crisis or commanders. For more on what I think those loadouts should be, check out my crisis and commander reviews in the description below. But basically, either case, you are not going to be getting a 50% or a 33% increase in your fire output, respectively, for crisis suits and commanders with a support system. There are a few exceptions for times where I would almost kind of back away from that valuation of how important the math is on that. But overall, really, you're not going to be getting a big increase in your fire output from a support system in the same way that you're going to get a significant increase in your fire output with just taking another weapon. It's just not going to happen. The cases where I would consider taking a support system just as a tactical choice for crisis suits, really, if you are using them as a drone caddy, I might consider having one of the guys in the unit take a drone controller, just because having that drone controller can be useful. In general, I think taking a drone controller on a cold star is a better choice, but if you're not bringing a cold star, or your strategy revolves around having drones with a better ballistic skill, putting one on one dude in a crisis suit unit, not a bad choice. Additionally, if you are running out of points and you just can't afford that extra weapon, my first response would be try to wiggle stuff around to make that happen. But even then, if you can't do it, then taking an advanced targeting system on something like, maybe 2 cyclic ion blasters and an advanced targeting system if you don't have the points, or something like that, is a little bit more appealing, I suppose, than if you weren't points restricted. For commanders, again, this is a pretty big no-no taking support systems, because the reason you take commanders is for their offensive ability. It's not their defensive ability. It's not really anything else. All those other things you could do with a commander, you can do with crisis suits. The thing that makes commanders special is their ballistic skill, and so you really want to be capitalizing on that. And so when you take a support system, you are giving up some of that value. There are 2 exceptions here as well. One is going to be if you are taking 3 cyclic ion blasters. I would take a multi-tracker, just because you don't want to be rolling ones with those. And firing all your cyclic ion blasters with a multi-tracker will prevent that from happening for the most part. Additionally, if you are really worried about this guy getting just blown off the board, if you're deep striking him in a way that he doesn't have adequate drone support, or you just keep running into the same issue with him being shot off the board right away, take a shield generator. It's okay. You know, one way to think about this is that if you only get one round of shooting out of a commander versus multiple rounds of shooting out of a commander, if he takes a shield generator, the loss in output because of the shield generator is compensated for by the increased life expectancy of that unit. So taking a shield generator on a commander isn't a bad thing if he keeps getting shot up. But again, the preferred option there would really be just to have more drone support, more support from other units in order to take advantage of the character target priority roles. So keeping him safe really should be more about his positioning and not so much about loading him up with support systems. For any other type of support systems on a commander, again, the Cold Star is going to be the better option just because he's restricted in his weapon loadout anyway, so you're not really losing anything by putting the support systems on him. He's going to be the guy that you know needs to fill up his slots anyway, and he can't do it with weapons, so you might as well put support systems on him. All right, I know that was a lot. In summary, generally, support systems aren't going to give you the equivalent increase in fire output as just taking another weapon. So for that reason, I recommend against it. We've talked about a few different reasons why you might stray away from that, but again, a lot of those can be addressed by changes in tactics. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're taking support systems and they are working out great, I'd love to hear about it. If you have stayed away from support systems and it's worked out equally well, also would be interesting to hear. So thanks for watching, and of course, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank all my patrons over on Patreon. Your support really makes a difference for me and I really appreciate it. Special thanks goes out to NoExcusesPanda, Paul Leuders, TauOswell, Andy Young, Peter Benjamin Parker, Giovanni DiMaggio. You guys rock, thank you. If you liked this video particularly well, head on over to Patreon and consider joining our community over there. Thanks as always, and happy wargaming.